Welcome to the Yummy and Fearless podcast with the Side Chicks, where we offer our side of the issues. Thank you so much for listening. Please follow us at Yummy Fearless on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and even Pinterest, where you'll find additional content from today's show. You can also listen to us on Apple iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, and Spotify. Please rate, like, review, subscribe, and share. And if no one else has told you today, we love you. Now let's get into the show. Welcome to the Yummy and Fearless podcast with the Side Chicks. I'm Yummy.
I am Dark Phoenix.
What's up, y'all?
What is up? It is the month of love.
Yes.
So we're talking about it.
Yes, amore.
Amore. Roll your tongue.
I can't roll. It is not going to sound acceptable.
Yummy's your name can't be Yummy and you can't roll
and
that
I
tongue.
Can't roll my tongue. I cannot. I want to so badly, but I cannot roll my tongue. No. But this episode, I'm sure most of you have heard about it. If you haven't seen it, Janet Jackson on A&E and Lifetime put out a documentary.
Kind of.
It was juicy.
We're going to talk about it, though. We're going to get into it.
Yeah. And so the angle that we're going to examine today is the many loves of Janet Jackson. We're basically going to be talking about her love life that she shared within the documentary. The one person that she's rumored to have had a hot and steamy love with that she didn't mention was Bobby.
It's my prerogative. No, but listen, so it's not just us focusing on it. It seemed like the documentary was focused on that, so why not us?
Yeah,
go ahead and go there. But yeah, Mr. My Prerogative was not mentioned. Spoiler
alert.
Didn't
make it. I really wish he would have. I would have loved to have gotten her take on him. So, but I get it. There are men I've dated that I refuse to talk about.
Right.
Like, myself.
He whose name we shall not mention ever. So I get that. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And we're going to get into some nuances there. Have some fun with it.
Yeah. So check it out. And why was Samuel L. Jackson on there talking?
Wasn't he in a movie with her? He was in a movie with her, right?
What movie?
Let me think about that. I don't know.
You know he gets on my nerve.
No, not Sam.
Yes.
Not Sam.
Because he plays the same character in every movie, which
That's
is
what
himself.
makes it funny.
It's not funny. It's overdone, and I'm really tired of him making a living at this.
Motherfucking
I'm
snakes.
tired of this motherfucker.
On this motherfucking plane.
I'm tired of him playing. He just has no
range.
No range. No fucking range.
He played a crackhead very convincingly.
That's back when he had range. And as soon as he got any amount of notoriety, he just stopped. He just started playing the same him in every character. He is the same. I'm like,
well, shit, we can say that about, I can name a few people like that. Halle Berry, she's the same motherfucker in every movie. Wow, I'm like,
I never thought about that.
Yeah. So I think it was interesting. I did see a theme. Janet, I like the fact that they talked to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and who are iconic by themselves, you know.
Yeah.
They helped make her what she is. And then Paula Abdul was on there. Yeah. Debbie Allen. I respected. They all gave mad prop. When I say they all, I mean Rebe, Randy, Janet. They gave mad prop. Oh, and Tito. Tito was on there. Mad props to their father.
Yeah.
People he had a bad rap and he was a motherfucker, but they said, hey, we would not be who we are without him. He made this happen. And you got to respect that.
He was a motherfucker, but life is a motherfucker.
Life is a motherfucker. Yes. They over and over again, people who worked with her, like she has a tremendous work ethic. Like she is a perfection. And similarly, Joe Jackson had the foresight and the ambition and the vision to make the Jacksons who they were. Who among us, we could talk shit about Joe Jackson all we want, but who among us wouldn't trade places with the Jacksons? Like,
exactly. Hey. I'm real hesitant to critique and get into other people's parenting because I know how difficult parenting period is. You know what I'm saying? And you can't ever really know all of the nuances and ins and outs of the dynamic of a family, and I don't claim to know what theirs are, but what his children all say as functioning, which they appear to be well-functioning adults, is that he handled his business. So I'm going to take their word for it.
They said it.
Yeah. So I'm going to take.
First of all, her men, we started with James DeBarge.
I approved of that choice. I approved of that choice.
before you knew what he's going through.
Before I knew what he was going through. Well,
Right.
first off, anyone in our age range, Black Americans, DeBarge was and still is royalty.
Yeah, I approved of that when it was happening. I thought it was the best. She's so lucky. Oh my God.
Exactly. Like everybody, all Black women love the DeBarge men.
Oh yeah. I loved El DeBarge. But James was he was so beautiful. Who would have thought that he was on drugs?
I know. He might have been the first person on my He Can Get It list. His brother, Bobby DeBarge.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't make it out of high school without being on hardcore drugs.
That blew my mind.
Yeah. So
they were so young. They had to be like 17.
Yes. Before they were famous. And they were famous as pretty young kids.
Something. You know what? Let me retract that because they went through some shit as kids.
Exactly.
So it's possible that they became substance abusers because of the shit they went through. They were horribly abused.
When you, like at first, when you look at it and be like, well, how is it possible that these beautiful, talented people that had all this, the world in their hands, how could their life have played out that way? That's the way it looks if you look at it quickly.
Right.
But when you really look at and understand their story, their life actually has played out the way that most people that come from that level of dysfunction and abuse plays out.
Yeah.
So it's not a shock that people that went through what they went through as children grew up to be addicts.
It's even wonder the shock is that they blew up to the success that they did.
That they
and were able to
perform
and become the icons that they became, even at such a young age. And they were so poised and just beautiful. Yes. And I knew they came from a supposedly Christian home, which is so ironic, right? They came from a Christian home and then went through complete hell in that home.
Pure unspeakable hell.
Just
unspeakable hell. But I'm a huge fan. If you come in my house right now, there's a DeBarge album on my wall.
Are you shitting me?
Literally, I fucks with DeBarge.
I love that. I used to I was there, not in my adult life. I haven't put anything up, but I was a huge DeBarge. Everybody was. Everybody.
I mean, like, but like all Black women, I was like, they're beautiful. But separate from that, their artistry is unparalleled.
Yeah. They were like angels. Like
they were like
fucking Are they of
angels.
heaven?
They were like fucking angels. And as I grew older and I really have like taken time to just go through their catalog and all of them, even as individual artists and as a group, my mind is even more blown. So next to my DeBarge album, there's a Switch album, which had the other two brothers in the group. So, but their artistry, I don't know that I would almost go as far as to say that in terms of raw talent, I think that the DeBarge as a family had more talent than the Jacksons. Now, dancing and stage presence, of course, they ain't nobody fucking with the Jacksons. But in terms of like musicianship and writing and harmonies, ain't nobody.
I won't necessarily debate that. I think that it was just. I think they were. I will put them equal. I'll put them equal. I don't know if they were had more, but do you think that's what Janet saw? Well, I think she kind of talked about what she saw in James DeBarge.
Really, it makes sense that they would be together. One, they had such similar backgrounds. They were both from two performing families.
For one,
two Black performing families. It's not like you're going to go to high school and meet another.
Right.
Of course, they'd be drawn together. They had so much in common. They both had commandeering fathers. So it makes sense. Another members of their family were already dating Latoya and Bobby. So.
Wasn't that funny? I did not realize that until that documentary.
That's how that
Latoya was such a doll too. Until she started getting all that stuff. They all were beautiful to me before they started getting stuff.
Gorgeous.
Janet was a doll.
You know what? One of the biggest parts of that documentary, separate from just what was going on, just looking at Janet,
the different
so fucking beautiful.
Yeah, she was gorgeous. She was a doll, and I'm talking about before she had surgery. She was a doll. When she was Penny.
When she was Penny, she was just stunning.
She was so cute, such a doll.
But when she was on Different Stroke,
I remember that.
Janet was on Different Stroke.
I wanted to be her.
Beauty
so
was
bad.
Just like me.
She was so mesmerizing. Yeah, she had a nose job by then, though. I think
she had. I think she had started the journey with her nose job,
which is crazy because she was only like 18. Now it's nothing for that to happen, but back then that was unheard of.
That was unheard of.
Kids to be having surgery, like especially Black kids. I mean, that was just like
modifying your nose.
The only other person that I know who did that as a kid or young person besides the Jacksons was somebody that Michael Jackson used to date, or at least she said was Stephanie Mills.
Oh, did she?
He had a nose job.
Yes.
James
Okay.
DeBarge. So
James made
DeBarge,
sense.
and then
but
Renee. Just
now
yuck.
Renee almost looked like a Great Value version of James.
A great
to me. Physically,
he definitely, it's like he was a wannabe. He was
completely
like a wannabe James. You wannabe James DeBarge looking ass,
and he
young waist having ass,
young waist, narrow bird chest having ass, adult man,
no ass in your jeans
at all.
No ass at all.
No ass at all.
He was yuck. I'm sorry if you are a Renee fan.
Dumb hairstyles with long ass bobs and
I guess
shit.
that was it. That was out during the day though. That was out during it.
Wasn't I don't care. That was not okay.
Just can we not tuck our sweaters into the jeans? Can we not,
especially when your hip bone is protruding like that through your jeans?
Like no cinching. No cinching. I'll give Renee this though, because Renee had issues. He had control issues. As we learned during the documentary, I will give him this. He did have the foresight to help Janet come out as a sex symbol or kind of lean into her sexuality.
So was that him, or was that just her going through a natural phases that women go through when you coming into your own and you're expressing it?
I think a little bit of both. I think that she was at the age where that was right around the control, when she hooked up with, wasn't it? When she hooked up with Jimmy Jam, or was that the second album?
No, that was Control. You're correct.
When she was messing with Renee?
Yeah, she was with Renee, I believe.
Okay. So I think that it's a little of both, but I think he kind of gave her permission to lean into that. I don't know that she would have done it by herself on her own, just by herself, because she had this heavy weight of being a Jackson and this image that she had to live up to. So I think that he kind of helped her lean into that. And he was a creative, he documented a lot of their lives together, and her mother. He got a little fucking annoying with that.
It was weird. And it was clear even from the little bit that they showed that he had an odd of that.
He was. It almost
with
seemed.
her and what was going on. I mean, it just was odd.
He was a fan. It was almost like he was a fan and he couldn't even believe it. It's like he actually documented their trip to like London and Greece to Rome, and they went
Hawaii.
He documented all of that stuff.
Personal stuff that where it's like you're just living your life.
But
he documented it like a fan.
Yep, like a fan. Yep.
Like I have no fucking business.
And that was before selfies. That shit was before selfies and shit. So he had to have a big ass camera doing this shit. He didn't have a phone
on his shoulder.
Okay, everybody act natural. Everybody. To the point where she was like, stop. She was like, stop that shit.
That was just, and again, that was just a little bit we saw.
Right.
I'm sure that there was like volume of it being like, Renee,
stop it already.
Enough. But it also, to me, reflects sort of like where she was as a person.
True. Yes, I thought the same thing.
To even accept it, allow it, or to for that long to feel that there was anything normal about that. What she sounds to me like a relationship girl.
Yes.
She's going to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
No matter what, because she went straight from Jane damn near directly to Renee.
Yeah.
Jane,
I get that though. I get the mentality that it will require to do that, because you got to think her father, very controlling. She talks about that, how he controlled everything. So he had all this control. She wanted to feel, the stuff that all young girls want to feel. Somebody who, gets me, desires me or whatever. They desire me. And I'm sure she heard some shit from her father about the way she looked. I bet you she did. I bet you she did. And then her own brother, Michael, saying dumb shit to her.
That's too brute. Yeah.
So I mean, can you imagine just having somebody who's like, I've been there. Like you don't realize that you are beautiful at that age. She was beautiful, but she didn't realize it. So you got somebody who's like, you are beautiful, and you like, I think I love this motherfucker.
Right? Like really? Like say that again?
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, yeah.
Maybe she felt sexual before that, but nobody around her was going to buck at her dad. Nobody around her was going to tell her, hey, it's okay. Go ahead or give her the courage to be like, you know what? I think I'm going to have this man's hands on my titties.
But I think that there were lots of lessons to be gleaned from the documentary or from her life. One of them is, which I am a personal advocate of this just in general. I just think that it is a good exercise, doing a good choice that when you come out of especially a long relationship and it was dysfunctional, take a minute.
Take a beat, man. Just
Take
take a beat.
a minute. I don't give a damn. What? Take a minute. And it's harder to understand why people don't when they don't have financial challenges. Because some people get into, relationships because for financial reasons.
Absolutely.
Also, when you don't have to worry about finances and you got a staff, I'm going to pay somebody to tell me I'm beautiful if I got Janet Jackson money.
But there's a dependency there. There's like a, what do you call it? Codependency. She was definitely codependent. When you grow up as somebody who kind of grew up like this, where somebody is making all your moves for you, you are at the age where you want to make your own moves, but you're scared to do that because you've been crippled in a sense. You've been crippled by the people who have been tending to you. So you feel like you need somebody to just, is this okay? Can I do this? So I get it, but I take a minute.
And also speak to a particular personality type, which she is, which I also relate to, that just the type of person she is, of just being easygoing, super nice, not necessarily an aggressive person. Because even when she was still talking about Jane and she got emotional and saying like, how can somebody do that? Like, to me, that spoke also to, and I really relate to that, because when people take kindness as a weakness and people take advantage when you're that type of person of the relationship that they have with you. And she didn't say this, but I'm pretty sure that he took advantage of her financially. He was an addict. Oh, absolutely. He was an addict. The bars, they never made money. And whatever money they made, it was so many of them in that group.
Okay.
Dang,
that's true.
And James, I think he came in the group a little bit later. And James not that it mattered because they just wasn't making what they should have made anyway. James wasn't necessarily a writer. He never was a lead singer. You know what I'm saying? He was a back player, period. So they never had money. So she didn't say it, but I'm sure that part of that exploitation of her by him was financial.
I bet. Yes.
So, and like she said, not to say that he didn't love her, because I'm sure that he loved her, but an addict is an addict, and that just is what that situation was. And he still is struggling with that disease to this day.
Is he really?
So he is.
I didn't realize that. Oh man.
Still. So, I mean, if you look, like she say, they got married. I mean, that just show you how much we talking a real addict here. They got married.
And he didn't come back on the wedding
for
night.
Hours. That's an addict. Even though that boy was young, he was a stone cold addict. That's hardcore addict behavior. She's sitting in Grand Rapids, Michigan, alone. Janet Jackson in a hotel room.
And then she said she would have to go out all types of night looking for him. And I'm like, damn it, Jane.
Yeah, looking for him. So
he was young though. How did it happen that she ended up making that choice though to marry him? She didn't really know him all like that.
Well, she said that she thought one way to get her independence would be to get married.
To get married, right. Well, yeah, she probably knew then that she didn't, like, I don't know him all like that, but hell.
But like, unlike the rest of the kids, due to her age and her being the youngest, she really, to me, had the most showbiz sheltered life. Like the rest of the kids had somewhat of a normal exposure. But Janet didn't. Because by the time she became aware, they had already moved to California. She really didn't have any memory of Indiana. So her whole existence was in this bubble. So she really didn't have many real life experiences, exposure. So she already had this odd upbringing in that period, which just further explained how she would click so much with James DeBarge. Because they had a similar she couldn't share that background with just some regular dude. But that was like a perfect storm. It was
You're right.
Perfect storm.
I think you have a very good point. And I'm like, dang, because at first I was like, who would let her do this? Why would she do that? She didn't even know him all like that. But you're right. It was a perfect storm. And he was as beautiful as he was. He was obviously not. Well, who could be the right person for you at that age? Anyway, I think she was 18 at the time anyway. So
when they actually
too damn young. So, you get how that wouldn't work out.
I totally get that. I mean, because like if there was an age, I could completely see myself doing what she did.
Oh yeah.
Like if I think that age equals, hopefully, if you're lucky, temporary insanity, you're nuts. First off.
Straight bonkers, but you think that you got some shit figured out.
You have no appreciation for just how bonkers you are.
Exactly.
Me at 18, a cute dude, and he gets
and he
me,
likes me,
and he likes me.
He says I'm cute too.
And we're gonna be together for forever. And
fucking ever, man.
Then I can get my freedom. And my older sister said, well, if that's what you want to do, just do it.
And we're gonna have cute babies.
And then it's done. his brother's in love with my older sister who said I should do it too.
This is gonna be epic. She's gonna marry him, and I'm gonna marry him.
I'm gonna marry him, and our family's coming together.
We're cousin brothers,
musicians,
nephews, and shit.
Right. Yeah, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
It's a wrap. So you could have like taken me and put me right in that spot. I would have done every move she did. It would have made sense for me.
I think anybody would have. Moment. It was it was like a glimpse into kind of the Janet that she would become later. And I think by that I mean she kind of rebelled again a little bit with that.
Yeah,
she was a little bit, you can see that little rebellious right at the when it was happening in real time. We didn't know, the public didn't know that she was married, but her family, you know, ended up they didn't know in real time either. They ended up finding out, like Rebe was saying, she found out. So I think that's kind of a glimpse into kind of her psyche as being a rebel of sort, going against the grain a little bit and being like owning that, because, you know, maybe she didn't own it all the way at that time, but as we later find out, as we've gotten to know her over the years, she leaned into that a little bit, because then she started, she hooked up with Jermaine, which, wait, let me just pause right here and say, she never even mentions her latest husband. She mentions the baby, like you said.
But like a stork dropped him off.
Like no mention.
Like nothing.
Maybe he said not to mention his name. But anyways, Jermaine Dupri. So what do you think about Jermaine Dupri?
I think that he was her most compatible mate.
Yeah. And he really liked her, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
I think he asked her to marry him.
Absolutely. And I think he was a good mate for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A good fit for her. And you know, people always
like
say
swag.
And he wasn't addicted to anything, like she said.
Right.
Which is
a starter. That's a good start.
That's a start. But people always talk about, make fun of the way he looked. Like, I don't think it's that serious. Like, and I saw him once in person at the airport in Atlanta, and he, like people always say this, he did look better in person, you know. So he
would have to. He would have to. No offense, Jermaine, but damn.
Yeah,
you already know.
But that man, he's
short
got something going on.
He must. He got game.
He got. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
You got Janet Jackson. What?
In love. She was in love.
Ready to. She said yes. She was ready to have your babies. However many he wanted.
You want. But I think that was her best mate in her most
compatible,
most compatible relationship. I think that he just got caught up, greedy
ass. Come on, you got Janet fucking Jackson, the real Penny, the real fucking Penny from Good Times,
the real
one. You cheat on her,
but it's the same story though. Boys and girls, it's the same story. All it shows is that none of that shit really matter. It's the same thing for Halle Berry, Beyonce, Rihanna. So it just goes to show you, if you feeling low about yourself, you need to fucking stop. You need to stop, okay? Because it ain't no go home free ticket.
He said that women actually came at him more.
I believe that.
Because he was with Janet. What the fuck? What's wrong with you trollops?
But I've heard men say that if they have their wedding band on, a lot of women approach them even more.
But everybody knew who he was messing with. Everybody knew that he was going with the princess.
But but women want to be like, oh, you know, I could still, Janet Jackson or not, I could still pull her man from her.
That's despicable.
Yeah.
You despicable trollop. And Jermaine, you're not off the hook either. But
no, you're not. Just out there being a little hooker. But
it could have been beautiful. It could have been a beautiful thing. And here you go.
But he ain't the first one to fuck up something beautiful.
He is definitely not.
He fucked that up. But what I do respect him for is the way that he handled that Super Bowl situation. I respect.
He came through. I did not know that until I saw this documentary. And so explain how he came through.
Well, he resigned from his position with the Grammy committee. I forget.
He was on the committee, and they disinvited her because of the Super Bowl. And he was like, "Fuck you, motherfucker."
And I remember that happening in real time.
You do?
Yes, because he did a press conference and like called him out. And I remember even then being like, "That's how you do that."
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First off, it's free. And there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Then Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. Then you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's Anchor, ANCHOR.FM, and get started making your own podcast.
But let's talk about that for a minute, because they were dead wrong.
Oh, yeah.
They were dead fucking wrong.
Yeah, completely.
Do you understand? Juxtapose what happened at the Super Bowl to all the bullshit that happens now. I know we have the benefit of history on our side, but even in real time, I thought, what?
That's what I'm saying. Even when it happened, I didn't feel the gravity that people were still trying to express. It clearly was an act. And my son was pretty young then. He was sitting there. He probably saw it, but he hadn't. I breastfed him, so it wouldn't have been the first titty he'd seen anyway. But even if he were older, so what?
Let me tell you, you were sitting there. I was sitting there. Did you recognize a nipple? You would have had to have freeze framed the shit.
Yeah, I didn't.
And we were seeing it. Imagine they talking about, oh, this is a family show. And let me tell you, if there were kids in the audience, they couldn't see shit. I mean, maybe on the Jumbotron. If you were at home and watching it on TV like we were, you would have had to freeze frame it to be able to see anything.
I didn't see nothing until way after the fact when somebody like broke it down and froze it. But I was watching it live and I'm like, what happened?
That said, I do think she did it on purpose.
You do?
I do.
I don't think she did it on purpose. I think she planned on exposing the red part of her bra, but it just like all came out.
No, I think, let me tell you something. She had on a nipple ring or some shit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That you don't dress up a nipple if you don't think
anybody. But you gotta have something in your nipple ring though at all times.
You have to have something in your explain this to me. Help me understand.
So if your nipples are pierced,
you can't ever take it out.
No, because it closes. It wants to close. Like that's like one of the hardest things to stay open. So if you have a nipple piercing, you can't, unlike other piercings, you can't like take it out for a few days or something. A nipple piercing, something always has to be in there because your nipple wants, more than any other part of your body, wants to close back up.
Oh, okay. I just learned something, boys and girls. But yeah,
so it was
dressed up. Her nipple was dressed up, not because she was taking it anywhere, but because it had to be dressed up. But I don't think that was an act. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I think that, you know, and I think she's a very good actress and faked it. And I still don't think that it warranted all the bullshit and aftermath. I do think it was planned. Yeah.
Even with her facial expressions and stuff after.
Yes, I think all of that was an act.
Oh my gosh.
I do. Look at it, y'all. Go back and run it. The whole her looking down and the surprised look on her face. Yeah. Remember, she played Penny.
Horrified.
She played Penny. She looked horrified when she played Penny too. I'm just saying. She's an actress.
See, I don't believe that she got this part approved, but I think that she planned on exposing her bra, but the rip went too far, and
I think that's why what did you say?
The titty came out, but unfortunately,
and people are making much about her forgiveness of Justin Timberlake. I think that's why, if what she said was true, that it was a malfunction, a wardrobe malfunction, there was no need to be angry at Justin anyways. The anger, if there was going to be any, should have been directed at the motherfuckers on Capitol Hill who was trying to have press conferences about the FCC and charging her. Who did they charge? Who had to pay? NBC had to pay?
CBS? I don't know who. I think it was CBS. All of that is just like silly, fake, outrage. That's
fake,
just dumb
intensity, fake outrage. Yes.
Yeah, and that's when like the sexism and racism all came in the play.
Absolutely.
All of that was just silliness though.
And the whole thing about Justin, what do you think about her reaction to Justin?
I think that her view on Justin have evolved over time, because there was an interview a few years after it happened that she did on Oprah, and Oprah asked her about Justin, and she said something to the effect that he didn't act in a way that a friend should act.
She did?
After. I think that she has evolving views on how her outlook as to his reaction to the incident over the years, which has been damn near 20 years. So I guess that can happen, but that's not what she always was expressing, the little bit that she did express. So I think part of it, she probably just tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
She's just tired of it. I'll just leave it alone. And she's probably like, just leave him alone.
Yeah, I think because people came after him. A lot of Black people came after him. Like, but I never felt that way. But it's weird that she, as much flack as she caught for the incident at the Super Bowl, to the point where they talk in the documentary about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame being slow to try to induct her because of that.
Right.
It seems like it pales almost in comparison to the treatment she got when Michael was on trial. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, which it makes sense when she was explaining it, but like I had no freaking idea. I do think, and this is terrible because I'm doing what she said people were doing to her when she became successful, which is talk about Michael. One of the best part of the documentary, I'm so sorry, was when Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis were talking about how Michael came in there and recorded his part for Scream. And then they showed it. I damn near jumped up and started screaming.
That was epic.
Phenomenal.
That was epic.
Phenomenal.
And just to hear them talk about it, like they said, he came in and they were like, he's like, was that okay? And they were like, yeah, Mike.
But how he got it going. Plus, there's no, and I try to explain this to my son, but I know he has no ability to get this. Mm-hmm. There's no comparable level of star like him, talent wise and just popularity. So there's nothing comparable, but there's nothing comparable talent wise. The way that he could walk in there and he knew how to ignite himself, how to pull the God out of himself and express it. You know, like he just started dancing around and he pulled it out. Like they played him doing his part and it was like, damn.
Yeah.
Like you can't produce him.
Yeah.
You can't direct that.
Yeah.
You can't coach nobody to be like that.
You cannot. Yeah. Even they said that. They were like, I mean, and these are like the most prolific producers at the time.
Ever.
And they're like, yeah, that's
they
just,
like,
what
you
let that
say?
shine. Yeah.
What can you say? And that, especially with us now being in the era of no talent, of people who are famous for being famous.
Yeah. They need swag coaches.
Yes. Just seeing that level of raw talent I just had a moment. I had a moment. Wow.
They knew at the time. They knew it. They were witnessing greatness at that time.
In that moment.
Yes.
Just like, I'm like watching it. Like,
it's
I don't
rare.
It's more than
it's
rare.
rare. It's
more
like,
than rare.
I mean, every now and again, somebody comes along and I'm thinking like in terms of in all aspects of life, you know, you have an athlete every now and again who comes along who is just like, damn, that is a specimen. That person is just gifted.
It's more than a life. It's more than once in a life. It's a couple lifetimes because there was nobody like him before him, during him, or after him. You know, there just is nothing like that, which, you know, brings me to like my Kanye rant when I'm like calling him a genius. It's like, what the fuck? I lived in an era of real geniuses. You know what I'm saying? So it's so offensive to me as a consumer when we just around here calling these motherfuckers geniuses. It's like, do you not remember Prince? He ain't been gone that long.
Yeah.
He has not been gone that long. Stop. Motherfuckers are not geniuses.
He also had, and I understand Michael also
12-year-old girls, the fuck they are.
Yes, I agree. I heard that Michael also had an impeccable work ethic.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a theme there. There is a thing.
Yeah,
and Janet had a little bit of competitiveness in her as well after she went on tour. At that point, because she had never, now mind you, she broke records with her. When she came out after that and did her tour, she broke records. Still to be broken. Okay. But when she saw him, that changed the game. That changed the game for her. And she grew up with him. You know what I'm saying? She grew up with him. Like, oh, this is how
exactly.
And I would just say this, seeing Janet as a little girl. Now this is not shade. This just underscores what you said about how often somebody like Michael comes along. You know, Janet was in the family. Janet, Tito, Randy, Marlon, they were all in the family, but they weren't Michael. I mean, Michael was something different. He was something special.
It's true.
Janet as a little girl, she was not that
she
special.
She could have been any little girl.
But Michael as a little boy.
Michael was already Michael.
He was.
He was already
a prodigy. You could already
see. Yes. You already see it. Yeah.
She grew into it and she became what she is now. But Michael always had it.
He always out the gate. What was he? Fucking 5?
5. Yeah.
Out the gate, dancing and singing.
But when you see him, you cannot deny it. You know that you're witnessing something special.
Greatness. We talked about Janet's Super Bowl performance, and that's legendary now, and it's something that obviously affected her career to this day.
For many years, yeah.
And it's impossible to talk about Janet without talking about her brother Michael, which we've been doing and we're going to continue to do. But one of my favorite Super Bowl performances is Michael Jackson's 1993 Super Bowl performance.
That's your favorite?
It's one of my favorites. It's right up there with Prince playing Purple Rain in the Rain.
Yeah. I think Michael Jackson has to be the best Super Bowl halftime performance that I've ever seen.
It's the only performance that I go back and watch. I still periodically watch that 1993 performance just to do it.
I would say Beyonce is probably second, but
But she also paid homage to him with her Super Bowl performance.
Did she?
Yes, even with the costume and some of the choreography.
That is so true. That is right.
Yeah.
About that.
So,
she had the little cross things on. He had like a little military look going, and I think she.
So all of that was from Michael Jackson's 93 performance. So his 93 performance is legendary.
I mean, he didn't even really perform all of his. How many songs did he perform?
He did 5 songs. He started out with Jam, which he killed, and he just kept on holding he holds his dick like that motherfucker is dipped in gold and encrusted in diamonds. He holds it like this, the prettiest.
Look at this. I'm gonna hold
Look at this.
Thing.
Like he would hold his dick like that motherfucker was worth billions. Like he wouldn't completely like grab it. He would just,
caress it.
Caress. Right. It was like a caress. He would just like sit just right on there. He would frame it with his hand.
Yes.
And as a woman, I would be like, you must have a beautiful ass dick.
What's in there?
Just the way that you're handling your man.
I want to see what's in there.
I want to know. So he performed Jam, which he was just beautifully holding his dick in just such a sexy way. Then he did Billie Jean, Black and White, We Are the World, and then he ended with Heal the World.
I mean, who else can stand there like a statue for like 10 minutes and people just go crazy? Who else can do that right now or ever?
He started out hard because they came out and then they were showing him on the Jumbotron, and then he would jump up and then he would show up at the top of the Jumbotron.
Like he was jumping out of the Jumbotron onto the top of it. Yeah, that was
on the top of it. And then he'd be on the next one. And then he jumped out of the stage and stood there for 5 minutes and everybody went crazy.
Crazy.
Who could do that?
I don't know.
Who else could do that?
And it still looked dope. It's like so cool.
Yeah, at one point he turned his head. Well, even when he finally appeared on stage in like that thing that makes him jump all the way up, you got to be in shape. Because if something throws you up in your knees and shit, right, you already.
And hip. You got to have some good hips and knees. Yes.
When they started with the music Jam, they hit that shit hard. He was going into steps hurt. He was going in, holding his dick, going into steps hard as fuck on Jam, just
every single move. I mean, he was
everything
fun to watch. He was fun to watch.
And you know what? Something that I didn't necessarily at times completely appreciate, but Michael, he could get it. He would have been able to get. He was fine as fuck. Like when he turned around, he had like a nice
beautiful smile too.
Beautiful smile. He had nice broad shoulders.
He was on the slim side, but he could get it.
But he thickened up by the time he was like this age. He had thickened up because Michael had a nice ass and everything.
Yeah, Michael.
And again, he was holding that dick like it was like encrusted in diamond. Like the way he would hold his dick was like so pretty, right? Just like he didn't grab it all disrespectful. He held his dick like it was just like
it was a piece of fine art.
Like, it was an American.
That's how he
treasure.
held it. I don't know. Was he a father at this time? He was.
Yeah, he was.
He was a father by now.
He was. He
had some handiwork and some hardware to prove
that he in fact was. So knowing how earlier we mentioned about the competition and how he was competitive and how Janet herself to a degree also appeared to be competitive and they both influenced each other. How do you think he felt about her Super Bowl experience compared to his?
Oh, I hate to say it. He probably was like, "Ooh, that sucks for you." He did love it. He loved her. I mean, he loved his baby sister. Yes, I'm sure he felt, bad for her. I still think she did it. But I unpopular opinion. I know she knew that titty was coming out, but
with that much talent, you don't need a titty.
What's your top 3 Super Bowl performances?
Oh wow! I I can think of two. I can think of Prince, especially when he was playing Purple Rain in the Rain. There just is nothing that can match that. That shit was just poetic. Dope. And Michael Jackson. But Michael Jackson, yeah, like but most Super Bowl performances are disposable.
I would agree. But there have been some memorable ones like Madonna. Madonna did she notoriously did a backflip or flip of some sort during her Super Bowl performance back in the 2000s, and people were, because she was over 50 at that point, I think, or she was hitting almost 50. And I remember, like I said, Beyonce, and I hate to say it, but Katy Perry, I think, has to be.
I was thinking of that one too. I
don't like her,
it,
but I
love Katy Perry. No, I love Katy Perry. Well, but again, I enjoyed the performance, but again, it wasn't anything like life shattering. It wasn't
I got to see that again. Yeah.
20 years from now, no one's going to perform on the Super Bowl and bring out their own dancing dolphin in honor of Katy Perry's Super Bowl performance. You know what I'm saying? So I look at that, that's why I think most Super Bowl performances are a lot of hype and they're disposable.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing for sure. That performance will go into infamy.
But even before the wardrobe malfunction in Janet's performance, it appeared to be a good performance, though, up to that point.
Absolutely.
So I think that it had the potential to be in the legendary status of performances.
Anyway, right. Mm-hmm.
So Michael Jackson, again, I go and I look at this Super Bowl performance. Prince, I go look at I look at him playing Time.
Who's performing 2022?
It's Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and Dr. Dre.
Eminem? Oh, that might be good. And Mary J. and Kendrick?
Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, review, subscribe, and share. It helps other listeners find us. And don't forget to follow us at Yummy Fearless on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and even Pinterest, where you'll find additional content from today's show and also our highly curated He Can Get It list. As always, you can listen to the Yummy and Fearless podcast with the Side Chicks on Apple iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, and Spotify. And if no one else has told you today, we love you and thank you so much for listening.